Hey there everybody, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. The Simon Says Stamp June 2022 card kit has just been released, and I'm going to be showing you 3 different cards that I made using the kit contents. These are 3 simple but really bright, colorful, and fun birthday cards. So the first card we're going to start with is using the Sunburst stencil that's included in the kit and the Stickles glitter gel. I'm going to start first by ink blending through that Sunburst stencil onto one of the sheets of pattern paper. I'm using a small Simon Says Stamp blending brush to blend through this stencil. It's a very detailed and delicate stencil. I'm going to focus most of my ink blending around the outside edges of the sun because I want the outer rays to be darker than the center. Pulling out the Stickles glitter gel, I'm going to apply that right over top of all the ink blending that we just did. And this is going to provide a translucent yellow glitter over top of our blending. So you'll be able to see the ink blending through that glitter, and it's going to provide a nice bit of shimmer and shine. I'll remove the stencil and you can see the pretty design we now have over top of our pattern paper. While that dries, I'm going to work on stamping a sentiment. This is from the Happiest Wishes stamp set that's part of the kit, and I'm stamping it onto some of the lipstick red cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I'll put white embossing powder over top of that embossing ink stamped sentiment and use my heat tool to set that. Now we have this really nice bright white greeting on top of this red cardstock, and this will stand out really well on our card. So my background is completely dry. I popped it up onto a white card base using foam tape, and then I also popped the sentiment on top of the background with foam tape as well. This card is pretty much done, and you could leave it just the way it is, but I wanted to add some sparkle with a bit of sequins. So I pulled out some clear sequins here, and I'm using glossy accents to adhere them onto my card, and you'll notice it's like a trail. It's going from the left-hand corner of the card up towards the top right. So we have this nice little trail of sequins kind of floating along the sky. Moving on to my second and third cards, I'm using 2 of the images from the Happiest Wishes stamp set. One is a dog and the other is a cat. Both are holding balloons. I'm using Karin markers, which I like to store in the Simon Says Stamp blending brush holder. It's a perfect size for holding my Karin markers, and I just need 2 of them to hold the markers that I have. I'm going to use those Karin markers and watercolor very loosely over top of these images. I was very inspired by the pattern papers, which have a very loose watercolor feel. And when I say loose, I'm referencing to the fact that the watercoloring on the pattern papers has open areas of white, so not everything is perfectly colored in, which I think is fun and whimsical. So I'm doing that exact same coloring technique on my images and creating a really fun and whimsical color scheme. I colored the cat, of course, to look like one of my boys, Oscar and Thomas, and then the dog I colored with some gray and black markers, and I'll give him some spots just for a little bit of fun. The nice thing about a technique of watercoloring like this is that you don't have to make this perfect. So the more imperfect it is, the more adorable it looks. And Karin markers are easy to use. They blend out so simply. I used Strathmore watercolor paper for the paper to use on my coloring. Okay, so speaking of paper, I pulled out one of the pattern papers from the kit, and I'm going to cut that down with a basic rectangle die. Then I'm pulling in a greeting from the Happiest Wishes stamp set and stamping that onto some slate gray cardstock. I'll put white embossing powder over top of that greeting and heat set it just like I did for the first card. I cut that sentiment out with my scissors, and then I'm going to pop my pattern paper right on top of my white card base. The basic rectangle die cuts this paper down so it has a nice mat around the edges. So I'm attaching my greeting with thin 3D foam squares. I love these things. They are not as thick as regular foam tape, so if you're pairing up some images that have some regular foam tape on them, anything with the thin 3D foam squares is going to be recessed behind the foam tape adhered image. And I like to store those thin 3D foam sheets inside of Simon Says Stamp's Positively Clear Pockets. I have all this stuff linked below in the video description or over on my blog if you're curious about anything. So the sentiment is not as dimensional as the dog, so we have this great slight bit of depth going on here. So the dog is more in front, the sentiment is in the middle, and then the balloons are in the back. So we have a lot of dimension going on here, which looks cool. All right, so finally I brought in some more of those clear sequins and I'm going to sprinkle those around the dog, kind of making it look like they're floating with him. I really focused the amount of sequins around the dog image on the left-hand side. I thought the balloon needed a bit more sparkle, so I'm going to pull in some Stickles glitter gel and I'm just going to apply this over top of the balloon on the darkest areas only. And I'm going to kind of feather it out as it goes towards the lightest areas. So you can see how that really catches the light and sparkles nicely. Okay, so similar to the second card, I'm going to make this cat version. I die cut one of the pattern papers, which I love. The stripe pattern is so cute. I want like a million of these. I'm going to pop the cat right up on top of that pattern paper, right in the middle, leaving some space along the bottom for the sentiment, which I also use those thin 3D foam squares for as well. So after I attached my cat and the sentiment, I pulled in a bunch of cute sequins from Simon's Party Time Mix, and I'm going to sprinkle these around the cat. I really tried to focus the colors of the sequins around the stripes that they're overlapping with, so we have a nice cohesive blend of colors here. And the sequins really add to the movement of the card, making the cat look like it's floating. Same with the dog card, I added Stickles on top of the balloon, and I just love how that catches the light and really sparkles and shines when the light hits it. All right, so there you have it, 3 different cards that I made with the June 2022 card kit from Simon Says Stamp. If you're interested in the kit, be sure to check out the link below in the video description or over on my blog. You can find still pictures of these cards there too. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed and were inspired to create. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'll be back soon with more to share with you all, but until then, I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye!